The calm before the storm at the Forrester estate felt almost deceptive. The California sun poured golden light through the open terrace, touching Steffi's skin with warmth that seemed to mock everything she and Finn had survived. For once, there was silence, no voices raised in conflict, no secrets lurking behind half-closed doors. Just the rhythm of the ocean below, the faint rustle of curtains, and the rare peace of two souls who had fought too hard to be together. Steffi rested her head on Finn's shoulder, breathing in the scent of salt and serenity, telling herself that this moment, this fragile stillness, was real. But beneath the surface, fate was moving again, unseen and unstoppable, in the shape of a woman who refused to disappear quietly, Luna Nozawa. For Finn, this was a moment of gratitude. After all the blood, the betrayal, and the haunting memory of Sheila's shadow, he had chosen to believe that love could win. He looked at Steffi and saw not only his wife, but the anchor that had kept him from being swallowed by chaos. Their marriage had survived scandals, separations, even near death, and now it glimmered like a diamond forged from pressure. They celebrated quietly, two people reclaiming something that had nearly been lost forever. Behind the locked doors of their sanctuary, they didn't speak about Luna, about the prison headlines, or about Will Spencer's name echoing across Los Angeles like a curse. They wanted to remember who they were before the next storm came. But somewhere beyond the manicured calm of the Forrester home, Luna was pressing her palm against the cold metal bars of her cell, her mind spinning with desperation. The fluorescent lights above flickered, slicing the darkness into sharp fragments. She had stopped crying days ago. Tears were useless currency here. What she had left were thoughts, racing, ruthless, and increasingly dangerous. Every clang of footsteps in the corridor felt like a countdown, every whisper of the guards a possible key to freedom. Then, one afternoon, as a laundry cart squeaked past her cell, Luna's eyes followed it with sudden precision. It was nothing more than fabric and wheels to anyone else, but to her it was possibility. Freedom sometimes came disguised in the most ordinary things. The idea was reckless, almost absurd. But Luna's life had already dissolved into absurdity, accused, betrayed, locked away from the child she swore she would protect. Well, Spencer, his name pulsed like a heartbeat in her mind. She needed to see him, to hold him, to remind herself that everything she had done, every lie, every stolen moment, was for something that still mattered. She whispered his name into the silence, as though the sound itself might carve a doorway out of the cement around her. Electra Forrester's face also hovered in her thoughts, a haunting mixture of jealousy and innocence. Luna's lips twisted into a bitter smile. She didn't hate Electra. She simply refused to lose to her. In the quiet hours before dawn, Luna began mapping every detail of her plan. The car would pass again at 5:40 a.m. She had memorized the rhythm. If she could time her move between the guards' cigarette breaks, there might be a window no longer than 60 seconds. She would hide beneath the sheets, pressing herself against the damp linen, praying that no one noticed the shape of her breathing. She imagined it again and again until the fantasy blurred into obsession. To fail meant being buried alive in this cell. To succeed meant walking into chaos, but at least it would be her chaos. Meanwhile, far from the concrete walls that confined her, the world she had once known was quietly rebuilding itself. At Spencer Publications, Bill Spencer leaned over his desk, the sharp lines of his face softened by a rare sense of restraint. He was truly trying to change. The scandals surrounding Luna, the haunting suspicion that his name might once again be dragged through mud, had forced him to seek something like peace. That was why Rachel had returned, as promised. Her voice was calm, her movements deliberate, as she arranged bowls of burning sage and whispered words meant to cleanse the energy of the room. The office smelled of cedar and smoke, as if history itself were being exorcised from the air. Bill watched her, wanting to believe that light could undo the darkness that had followed him for years. Rachel spoke of balance, of forgiveness, of letting go of energies that no longer served him. Bill nodded, but part of him remained unreachable. His empire had been built on control, on bending chaos into profit. He didn't understand how to surrender, not even to peace. Still, he let Rachel finish her ritual. The last tendrils of smoke curled toward the ceiling, dissolving like ghosts released from their past. Bill exhaled slowly. He didn't know that at that very moment, the woman whose existence had once shaken his entire family was crawling into a laundry cart, ready to roll herself back into his life and set everything ablaze again. As the prison gates loomed in Luna's mind, she imagined the night air on her skin, the scent of the ocean calling her back to the beach house, the place where it all began. That house had once been her dream, then her curse. Its windows had seen secrets that refused to stay buried. It was where love had turned to war, where blood had once stained the sand. She told herself that she wasn't going back there for revenge. She was going back to reclaim what was hers.
Will.
Her child. Her name. But beneath that defiance simmered something darker, a thrill she couldn't name. Chaos was addictive, especially to those who had once tasted it and survived. While Luna plotted, Finn and Steffi were still lost in their illusion of peace. They danced barefoot through their home, laughter mingling with the hum of the city below. To Steffi, this was redemption, the proof that love could survive even the ugliest betrayals. She had chosen Finn again and again, and she would keep choosing him no matter what ghosts lingered outside their door. Yet even as she smiled, a chill crept through her, subtle as a whisper. It was the kind of unease that came from knowing life at Forrester Creations was never truly still. Somewhere, someone was always waiting to strike. Back at the prison, the moment arrived. The laundry cart rattled forward, pushed by a guard too tired to notice the weight shift slightly. Luna's heart pounded against her ribs, every beat louder than the wheels beneath her. The metal bars of the gate slid open with a mechanical sigh. For a breathless instant, she was outside, still trapped within the sheets, but tasting the scent of wet asphalt and freedom. The guard cursed under his breath about overtime, unaware of the pair of eyes watching from beneath the linen folds. Luna didn't move. She didn't breathe. She had learned the art of stillness in a world that had silenced her. Hours later, the sirens wailed. By then, Luna was already gone. The desert road stretched before her like a wound in the earth. She drove a stolen maintenance truck with trembling hands, every mile peeling away another layer of the woman she used to be. The lights of Los Angeles glimmered on the horizon, cruel and beautiful. She knew exactly where she was going, the beach house. It wasn't just a place. It was a statement, a reminder that she still existed, that they couldn't erase her story no matter how tightly they locked the doors. Steffi woke to a phone call that shattered the fragile morning calm. Her breath caught as the voice on the other end spoke of Luna's escape. For a heartbeat, everything froze. The laughter, the warmth, the fragile illusion of safety. Finn took the phone from her trembling hand, his jaw tightening. They both knew what this meant. It wasn't just a fugitive on the run. It was a ghost resurrected. The past was moving toward them again, relentless and unrepentant. By the time Luna reached the coast, night had fallen. The beach house stood silent, its lights off, its windows reflecting only the moon. She stepped out of the truck barefoot, the sand cool beneath her feet. The sound of the waves was almost comforting. She approached the door slowly, running her fingers along the frame. For a moment, she hesitated. The memories here were merciless. Every kiss, every betrayal, every scream. Yet she turned the handle anyway. The door creaked open like a confession. Inside, everything was just as she remembered. The scent of salt and perfume lingered in the air. On the mantel, a framed photograph of Will smiled back at her, small and innocent. Her vision blurred. She had come to claim her son, but what she felt instead was the crushing weight of everything she had lost. She pressed a hand to her stomach, where life had once stirred, and whispered something only the sea could hear. Then her eyes hardened. She wasn't here to mourn. She was here to begin again, on her own terms. But Luna's return would not go unnoticed. Within hours, news broke across every screen. every network. Bill's office phone erupted with calls. Rachel's cleansing ritual had barely ended when chaos swept back in like a tide. The energy in the room shifted violently. The peace she had tried to create evaporated. Bill stared out the window, watching the skyline, as if he could see the storm approaching. Part of him had always known it would come. The past never stayed buried in Los Angeles. Especially not when your last name was Spencer. The next days unfolded like a fever dream. Reports of an intruder at the beach house spread. A shattered window. A trail of footprints leading toward the cliffs. Finn and Steffi were advised to stay under protection, but Steffi refused to hide. She had fought too long to reclaim her life to surrender it again. Yet at night, she found herself checking the locks twice, hearing phantom footsteps in the hall. Finn tried to reassure her, but his own hands trembled when he thought she wasn't looking. The woman they feared wasn't just a fugitive. She was the embodiment of every secret they'd tried to forget. Meanwhile, Luna lingered in the shadows near the cliffs, watching from afar. The house glowed in the distance, like a memory she couldn't extinguish. She imagined Will inside, sleeping peacefully, unaware that his mother was breathing the same air again. Her eyes filled with something close to madness and love combined, a dangerous mixture that could ignite anything it touched. She didn't want to destroy them. She only wanted to be seen, to be remembered. But love, when warped by desperation, always turned into something else. As dawn broke over Malibu, the illusion of calm shattered completely. Police cars lined the road, helicopters cut through the sky, and reporters camped near the gates. Luna's name was on every headline. Fugitive Nozawa escapes prison, believed to be near Spencer Estate. The story consumed the city, and within the Forrester and Spencer circles, paranoia spread like wildfire. Finn canceled surgeries. Steffi stopped going to the office. Bill doubled his security, but no lock could keep out guilt or fear. Rachel returned to his office once more, not to cleanse but to warn. She told Bill that energy never truly leaves, it only transforms. What Luna carried was no longer just grief. It had become vengeance, an echo of every pain the Spencers had caused her. Bill listened in silence, knowing she was right. He had seen that same hunger for redemption in his own reflection many times. And somewhere, he almost admired Luna for her defiance. Almost. The waves crashed violently that night, and the beach house stood like a wounded monument. Luna crept inside one last time, leaving behind a trail of salt water and sorrow. On the table, she placed a single photograph, Will as a baby, her arms around him, both smiling. Beneath it, she scrawled a message in trembling ink, something no one would forget. The house would soon become a crime scene again, but the real damage was already done. The illusion of peace had been destroyed. The families of Los Angeles were once again caught in the undertow of love, guilt, and ruin. When the police found the note the next morning, it contained only 5 words: "You can't cage a storm." And somewhere far from the flashing lights, Luna was already gone, vanishing into the horizon like a ghost finally unchained, leaving behind a city trembling beneath the weight of what she might do next. For decades, the bold and the beautiful has lived up to its name, weaving love stories that stretch across generations and ignite both passion and controversy in equal measure. Yet amid the ever-changing romances, betrayals, and power struggles at Forrester Creations, one constant remains: Brooke Logan and Ridge Forrester. Their love story has been told and retold, shattered and rebuilt so many times that it has become the heartbeat of the series itself. Still, even the most devoted fans continue to discover new details, small gestures, subtle choices, that reveal something deeper about who these two really are. One of those recurring details is almost invisible at first glance, but impossible to ignore once noticed: Brooke's habit of wearing Ridge's clothes. It sounds trivial, even charming, but soap opera fans have long known that nothing in this universe is ever just a detail. The sight of Brooke wrapped in Ridge's shirt, walking through the soft morning light of their shared home, has appeared so many times that it has taken on a life of its own, a quiet ritual that seems to bind them together when words fail. To the casual viewer, it may look like an intimate, domestic flourish. To those who know Brooke's history, it is something far more symbolic, a declaration, a defense, and perhaps a quiet plea. Brooke Logan has always been defined by extremes, intense passion, relentless ambition, and the kind of emotional vulnerability that makes her both magnetic and fragile. Her love for Ridge has never been passive. It has been an act of survival, a rebellion against loneliness, a refusal to surrender the connection that has defined her existence for decades. When she slips into his clothes, she isn't merely dressing in fabric that once touched his skin. She is claiming presence, territory, and memory. It is as if, by wearing Ridge, she can hold on to the parts of him that the world, and the many women who have come between them, keep trying to take away. Psychologists might describe it as a projection of emotional dependency, a way of maintaining intimacy, even in absence. But The Bold and the Beautiful isn't a psychological treatise. It is emotion dramatized, distilled, magnified until the private becomes operatic. Brooke's gesture has therefore become a piece of living theater, a visual shorthand for longing and possession. Each time she appears draped in one of Ridge's shirts, she reminds both him and the audience that love, in her world, must always be seen to be believed. Online, fans have taken notice. What once seemed like a wardrobe coincidence has become a topic of passionate debate. Why does Brooke always wear Ridge's clothes? One viewer asked, half amused, half fascinated. Is she marking her territory, or just showing affection? Others responded with essays disguised as comments, dissecting everything from the cut of Ridge's shirts to the emotional language of their scenes together. Some see it as romantic, proof that Brooke's love is tangible, that she keeps Ridge close even when he pulls away. Others see something more desperate in it, a quiet echo of her fear that if she doesn't physically hold on to him, she might lose him again. For Brooke, losing Ridge has always felt like losing herself. Their relationship, spanning decades, has survived affairs, betrayals, secret children, corporate wars, and even death itself. They have broken up more times than most couples have said, "I love you." Yet somehow, they always circle back, drawn by a force neither can escape. Perhaps that is why fans continue to watch, not for the perfection of their love, but for the imperfection that feels human, even when wrapped in the glamour of Forrester silk. Still, not everyone sees magic in their chemistry. They feel forced. One critic wrote bluntly, "It's not about passion, it's about performance." They touch, they kiss, but it never feels natural anymore. Another chimed in, "I'm tired of watching them pretend that every reunion is a fairy tale. Sometimes it feels like they're acting the part of lovers rather than being in love." Such comments reveal the double-edged nature of The Bold and the Beautiful, the very intensity that draws fans and also divides them. Brooke and Ridge have become archetypes, symbols of eternal love to some, of toxic repetition to others. Yet, even those who criticize them cannot look away. That is the paradox of this pair. Their flaws make them fascinating. Every time Brooke puts on one of Ridge's shirts, she seems to acknowledge those flaws while defying them. It's as though she's saying, "I know we're broken, but I will still wear the memory of us until it fits again." There is something profoundly cinematic about that image, a woman alone in a sunlit room, wrapped in the scent of the man she refuses to stop loving. The choice to show Brooke in Ridge's clothes is not accidental. Soap operas, like poetry, rely on repetition to build meaning. Repetition turns moments into motifs, motifs into myths. By repeating this visual cue over the years, the show has created a language of its own. When Brooke wears Ridge's clothes, it is both foreshadowing and reflection, an omen that their story is far from over. It is also a commentary on Brooke's evolution. In her early years, she was often portrayed as the temptress, the woman who stole Ridge from the supposedly better woman, Taylor Hayes. That narrative painted her as the eternal outsider, the one who had to fight for legitimacy in a family that viewed her love as a scandal. By wearing Ridge's clothes, Brooke rewrites that story. She turns from outsider to insider, from forbidden lover to rightful partner. She becomes part of his world, literally, wearing its symbols. It's an act of quiet rebellion. The woman who once wasn't allowed to belong now covers herself in the very fabric of belonging. The sensual dimension cannot be ignored either. As one fan wrote online, their kisses are so intense it feels like they've forgotten there's a camera there. Others disagree, arguing that the physical closeness feels choreographed rather than passionate. But in both cases, the body becomes the battlefield of perception. In the world of the bold and the beautiful, physical intimacy is language. Each touch, each kiss, each wardrobe choice communicates something unspoken. When Brooke leans into Ridge, wearing a shirt, the subtext is layered. Trust, desire, possession, insecurity, nostalgia. Every viewer interprets it differently because love itself is never one thing. It is always contradiction. Some fans point out the use of the tongue during their kisses, something rare on daytime television and often seen as a sign of deep trust between actors. It's not the norm, one commentator observed. It means they're comfortable with each other on a level most co-stars never reach. Whether that trust translates to believable chemistry is another matter. For some, it heightens the realism. For others, it borders on discomfort. Yet that very discomfort is what keeps the conversation alive. Brooke and Ridge, even in their most tender moments, force the audience to confront what love looks like when it refuses to stay simple. To understand Brooke's attachment, one must also understand her fear. Throughout her life, love has been the only constant that she could not control. She has built empires, raised children, reinvented herself countless times, but the heart, the stubborn, reckless heart, has always belonged to Ridge. He is both her anchor and her undoing. When he leaves, the world tilts. When he returns, it steadies. This dependency, though romantic on the surface, carries the weight of tragedy underneath. It is the tragedy of a woman who is everything yet still feels incomplete without the one person who knows how to hurt her most. Ridge, for his part, is not blind to what Brooke's gestures mean. He sees the symbolism, even if he pretends not to. There's a flicker in his eyes whenever she appears wearing his clothes, a mix of surprise, tenderness, and unease. Perhaps he knows that her love, while beautiful, is also consuming. Perhaps he recognizes in her devotion a mirror of his own ego. Ridge has always been drawn to women who see him as irreplaceable. Brooke has always been drawn to men who make her fight for permanence. Together, they form a pattern that is both intoxicating and destructive. What makes this pattern compelling is its self-awareness. In the later years of The Bold and the Beautiful, Brooke herself has begun to reflect on her choices. There are moments when she looks at Ridge not with longing, but with quiet exhaustion, as if realizing that love can also be a habit, a story we tell ourselves because we can't imagine another ending. Yet when he reaches for her hand, when she feels the old electricity rise again, she slips back into the rhythm of them. That's when the wardrobe detail reappears, as if the writers themselves understand that love, for Brooke, must always be embodied. Viewers often underestimate the power of costume in storytelling. Clothes in The Bold and the Beautiful are not merely fashion, they are dialogue. Every thread carries meaning. Ridge's suits represent control, legacy, and masculine authority. Brooke, wearing one of his shirts or robes, becomes a quiet inversion of that power. She transforms something designed for him into something that expresses her softness and dominance simultaneously. In that sense, she isn't just keeping him close. She's rewriting his identity through her touch. It is seduction as storytelling, a merging of bodies and symbols. This dynamic fascinates the audience because it blurs the line between love and control. When does affection become possession? When does intimacy turn into dependency? Brooke's gesture walks that razor's edge. For some viewers, it is a testament to passion that refuses to fade. For others, it is a red flag, a sign that she cannot let go. But in either case, it reveals something universal: the fear of being forgotten. In a world where everything changes, Brooke clings to what can be worn, held, smelled. Ridge's clothes are her proof that love still exists in the fabric of the ordinary. Social media has become the new living room of the soap opera world. Fans debate with the intensity of philosophers, analyzing scenes frame by frame, quoting lines as if they were scripture. When it comes to Brooke and Ridge, these debates never end. Some viewers defend Brooke's vulnerability as her greatest strength. "She's not weak," one wrote. "She just loves completely." Others counter that such complete love is dangerous. "She disappears into him," another argued. And that's why they'll never last. Yet the show itself seems to thrive on that contradiction. The writers give the audience both versions at once, Brooke as the eternal romantic and Brooke as the self-sacrificing martyr. Ridge as the noble designer torn between two worlds, and Ridge as the man who will never truly choose. Their story is less about resolution and more about rhythm, a cycle of connection, betrayal, forgiveness, and return. The repetition isn't laziness, it's ritual. It reminds viewers that love, like fashion, comes in seasons. What was out of style yesterday may be reborn tomorrow. In the end, Brooke's habit of wearing Ridge's clothes is not merely a quirk, it is a symbol of this ritual. Each time she appears wrapped in his fabric, she signals the beginning or end of a chapter. It's cinematic foreshadowing disguised as intimacy. Even the lighting shifts, the soft morning glow, the muted palette of comfort and nostalgia. These choices evoke not lust but longing, the kind that stretches beyond the screen and settles somewhere inside the viewer. The scene is played out countless times. Brooke standing by the window, Ridge's shirt slipping off one shoulder, the city outside glimmering like memory. She touches the collar, inhales faint traces of his cologne, and for a moment, she smiles, a fragile, private smile that holds both joy and fear. That is the image that stays with audiences long after the credits roll. It's not about glamour or seduction. It's about the simple human act of wanting to belong. In an era when the bold and the beautiful continues to evolve, introducing new generations, scandals, and rivalries, Brooke and Ridge remain its emotional axis. They are not perfect. They are not even always believable. But they are real in the way that only decades of storytelling can make fictional characters real. Viewers have grown old with them, seen themselves reflected in their triumphs and mistakes. Brooke's choice to wear Ridge's clothes becomes a shared memory between audience and character, a reminder that love leaves traces on us, and sometimes, those traces take the shape of something as ordinary as a shirt. So when fans notice Brooke doing this strange thing, they are not wrong to look for meaning. She is performing the oldest act of love there is, trying to make the ephemeral permanent. Her gesture says what words cannot. You are part of me. I am part of you. Even when you leave, I will carry you. That, perhaps, is why audiences keep watching, not for perfection, but for the imperfect, enduring truth that love, even when worn thin, can still fit. And maybe that's the secret that keeps the bold and the beautiful alive. Beneath the glossy surface, the designer gowns, and the melodramatic betrayals lies a simple truth. Everyone wants to be remembered. Brooke Logan just found a way to show it in silk and cotton. Each time she steps into Ridge's clothes, she reminds us that love isn't only about holding someone close, it's about refusing to let them fade. So the next time she appears on screen, wrapped in something that clearly belongs to him, the audience will know it's not just fashion. It's history, emotion, and defiance stitched together. It's Brooke saying once again, in her quiet, unmistakable way, this story isn't over yet.